So if you're wanting to know how to deal with cold approach rejection, for the most part, you just got to tough it out. It's hard, but I have written a few different things that can help you out a little bit. So just the first thing is just like recognizing that rejections, a lot of them, is completely normal. Like it doesn't matter how good you look, you're going to get rejected a lot. A lot of women aren't going to be available. They're going to be, they're dating somebody, or they're just like not interested in meeting anybody right now, or maybe they just don't like you, or maybe it's just like too much, or blah, 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 blah. Maybe they just want to talk, which is surprisingly common. But don't take it personally, which is super hard to just say and actually understand and do, but at least keep that in mind. Number two, just basically the same thing, and I should have probably merged these 2 points, but it's have realistic expectations. So I think like 95% of the time around then you're going to like not get anywhere. Like 95% of your approaches, at least when you start, will be failure. So like 1 in 20, between 1 in 20 and 1 in 10. So between 5 and 10% is a reasonable expectation, assuming you have like your appearance mostly in order. And you can increase this by a fair bit once you kind of like understand, like if you're more selective, which is kind of like the end game when you're not going out to approach, when you're just like out and about, you're at the grocery store, you're shopping or whatever, and then you see a girl and, maybe she looks your way, maybe she smiles, or maybe she doesn't, but you just have that feeling that, maybe she's into me. That type of approach, you can have a very high success rate. And again, it doesn't like take any time because you just do it naturally. Number three, remember why you're approaching. Just, realizing just what's at stake, how this could just completely change your life, because you can develop that abundance mentality. Your relationships, literally, like, it doesn't get talked about much, but your relationships will be so much better because you'll be so much more emotionally stable, because you're not going to be dependent on any woman as much as you would have otherwise been. So you know that you can get an attractive new woman virtually at any time. Like that's a fucking superpower that a lot of guys they don't have that ability. They just take that whatever they can get, and if things are rocky with their girl or whatever, they can get very jealous or insecure, and it ends up backfiring. But you can just keep yourself on the level because you can cold approach. You can get somebody even better potentially than her. So it's huge. So keep that in mind while you're approaching, that this is more than just like meeting somebody right now that you might want to hook up with. Next one, just recognize that it's not like wrong, that you'll feel super just like it just doesn't feel right because it's socially not right. I wouldn't say socially not right, but it's like it's just not common to see. You're kind of just wired in a way to say this just doesn't really feel normal, but there's a very, very real chance that you'll end up meeting a girl that you'll end up marrying, and very high chance, if you do this a significant amount, that you'll at least have meet girls that you end up dating. And if you ask them, of course, they're going to be very glad that you approached. There's women out there right now that want them to approach you, just like you would want them to approach you, and you should take advantage of that. Really, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with, as long as you're polite, as long as the interaction's short, as long as you're doing it in a public space and not like cornering some woman somewhere. Just basic common sense, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Next one, just focusing, making sure the approach itself is the goal. Don't try to be discouraged if you're not getting numbers, again, because the success rate is going to be relatively low to the amount of approaches that you're making. If you frame success by the actual approach, then when you go out and do like 10 or whatever, that's huge. You're you're going to make a like tangible impact on your approach anxiety when you approach that much. It's just going to happen. It will just get easier. And eventually, once you end up getting laid from it, that's huge, because it's not just like a proof of concept, or it is like you've proven that it works, and then it's just a matter of optimizing your approach and, you know, scaling, playing the numbers harder. Next, I sound like a broken record. Just your appearance is huge. Just do everything you can to make as much of a difference, as much of improvements as you can, and really that's about it. Try to not overthink it. And just a huge part of this, because I know anything like difficult, you can end up just get frustrated by it because it's so difficult and you feel like maybe you're doing something wrong. But a huge part of this is just powering through the difficulty. Like there's not much else I can really tell you to be able to do it. It's just the grind. It's just putting your head down, rolling with the punches, going out there and doing it regardless of what people think or the outcome, that you just have to push through it. That's essentially it. There's really not much else. That's like 90% of it. But anyways, hopefully you can get better at it, or hopefully you can just keep doing it, and it will work out for you. Peace.